Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on AI updates and FlowForma, the FlowForma roadmap for 2025. I'm Hannah. I'm digital marketing and event specialist here at FlowForma, and I'll be your host for today's event. So just some housekeeping. So this webinar is being recorded, and if you need any assistance during the webinar, you can email info@flowforma.com. Your lines are muted, but we will have Q&As and polls throughout. So we hope that you participate in them as well, because we really want to make it as interactive as possible. So I just want to introduce you to our speakers. First, I'd like to introduce you to Charlie McGillian, our new Customer Growth Manager here at FlowForma. Charlie brings a wealth of experience in helping organizations maximize the value of their digital tools, and he is passionate about driving your success. He'll be working closely with many of you to ensure you are getting the most out of your process automation journey. Thanks so much for joining us, Charlie.
Thanks, Hannah. Good to be here.
I'd also like to introduce Paul Stone, our Customer Services Manager, who many of you may know already. Paul plays a key role in supporting our customers with expert guidance and deep product knowledge. He's here today to share insights, and along with that, any questions both Charlie and him they can answer for you. And just for our agenda today, we have a really exciting agenda. So we're going to go through our AI updates, which are now available to customers. We're going to be looking at the updated Flow Designer, and then also what's coming soon and next for our AI updates, and then also trending use cases amongst our community, as well as your migration journey to FlowForma 8 if you haven't already started it. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end as well. So I'm just going to pass you over to our experts, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah. As the title of the webinar suggested, AI is prevalent in everything we do at present, and it's no different here at FlowForma. We have seen the advancements in AI and how we can advance that into our product and how it lends very well to it. So on the back of that, we have implemented a co-pilot function through the product, and that will allow you to, develop rapid process automation, and that can be done through natural language prompts, as well as looking at documents. So let's say you have a flow diagram or any other documents, you're able to upload those, and that can build out the process for you. It will also support business rules and questions and repeating tables. And we also are looking at autonomous agents rules. And again, that's through natural language instruction, document extraction, and sentiment analysis, as well as AI summarization, which Paul will demonstrate a bit more in depth as we go on throughout this webinar.
Yes, and I'd like to talk to you as well about our new Flow Designer. So the Flow Designer has been largely untouched for many years. We've added new functionality in terms of new questions and new business rules and so on, but the look and feel of the Flow Designer has remained the same for a long time. And we thought it was well past time to give it an update and introduce a new look and feel. But be safely assured that all the functionality that you're used to, that's still there. It's just a new, cleaner look and feel that allows us to expand the Flow Designer and use it in different ways. So you'll be able to use it as the regular designer, which is what you're seeing here. You're seeing the form preview and all the typical designer view where you're editing steps and questions. But we also are giving you a new view mode, and that's a co-pilot mode, where the interface is very different. You're actually chatting with the designer, and you're having a conversation with it to build out a form and a process. This is really exciting. I'm sure you'll be very keen to see what it can do, and we're going to show you that in a demo But it gives you the two options, Copilot and the traditional designer view, and they both serve a different purpose. So the designer view lets you fine tune things. With Copilot, you can very quickly build a prototype to start you off. It's really quite impressive. And the great news about this is that it's here and ready now. In fact, we're going live with this on the 15th of April. So from the 15th of April, FlowForma will be updated to have this new Flow Designer view. And the good news is, like I said, it actually does everything that the current Flow Designer does. You'll be able to continue editing your processes just like you do today. But for those who want to move into AI, you also have this new Copilot view that gives you a load of additional features, okay, additional ways of working with the Flow Designer. And we're very excited about it, and we're going to give you a demonstration of it. Hope you like it, and by all means, ask any questions that you have in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the show. But for now, what we're going to do is give you a quick demo of the Flow Designer. And let me start off by showing you our new FlowForma 8 environment. So it's important, I suppose, to say that the Flow Designer is going to work with all of your existing environments. So where you have FlowForma 7 installed, you'll get the new Flow Designer view, you'll get the benefits. For the AI features, they work with FlowForma 8. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a new FlowForma 8 app. We've already talked to some of you about this. Some of you have already transferred over to using it. Others are on the journey, and we'll talk a little bit about that journey as we get to the end of the show today. But this FlowForma 8 app is designed to work within modern SharePoint. So what we have here is FlowForma sitting inside a modern SharePoint environment. And you can click on tiles as you would before to launch processes. You can also see views of different data. In fact, it gives you the exact same functionality that you had before, except it's working inside a modern SharePoint page, which gives you lots more options in terms of how you view that page. In the old FlowForma environment, you were very restricted as to what you could do with the FlowForma landing page. In the new FlowForma environment, working with modern SharePoint, you can actually include this as a web part sitting inside your SharePoint page with lots of other links and so on lying around it, and arrange it in a very different way to how you would FlowForma 7. The general feedback I've been getting from all of our clients that I've spoken to about this is very positive. They like the fact that actually you can modify it and use it in a different way to the way you would with FlowForma 7. And now let's kick off with our view of the new Flow Designer. Here I've opened up a process within the new Flow Designer. And what we can see is that it's a capital expenditure process, and we have several different steps in this process. And the view is actually quite similar to the one you had before. What you'll find is that the navigation has changed. It's been given a cleaner user interface. That's very clear and obvious from when you see it. It fits within the SharePoint page now, so that you can resize it and so on very easily. You can magnify it and so on as you would with any other web page. So it's really quite a significant difference in terms of the UI, also in terms of usability, because it's modern SharePoint, it's very flexible. But the other thing to say is that it does work in the same way. So basically, you have still your flows, you have your questions, you have your steps. But we've added in some touches that we think that the general user base will regard as beneficial. So for example, you can clearly see here that there's a business rule on this step. And when you open it up, you'll see the contents of the step, but also you can see that business rule down here. So we put little visual indicators in to help you identify where the logic is inside the process, so that you can quickly jump to that logic and modify it as you need to. To clear up some space and better arrange the space that you're seeing, and what we've done is we've basically moved the buttons that used to lie in the middle and to the left and to the right and so on in a single vertical column running along the side. From a navigation perspective, it's probably the single biggest thing that you will notice if you're using the Flow Designer in the traditional way, that the buttons are now on the side. However, all the buttons are still there, and the buttons automatically change depending on what you're viewing. So, for example, when I click on the form view, you see I'm getting some additional options. Sorry, the flow level view, you're getting additional options. If I click on a step, additional options, and so on. So, depending on where you're clicking, automatically, so that you're seeing the options that are just relevant to that particular item that you have clicked on. We've also incorporated the form preview in the panel on the right-hand side, and this is displayed by default. So you're always seeing the form preview there, but you can turn it off if you want to, which returns you very much to the traditional Flow Designer view that you have been using to date. But like I said, it is turned on by default. And part of the reason for that is that we've introduced a new Copilot feature, which is available on a separate tab here. And this tab allows you to see that chat style interface into the process. Now I'm going to give you a demonstration of this, but not using this flow. I'm going to create a brand new one. So let's jump back over to my FlowForma dashboard, and I'm going to kick off a brand new process flow. And for this process flow, we're going to call it expenses. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of how we can construct it. One second. So you start off in the typical way, and when you open it up, you get your Copilot view and a very blank looking page. So at this stage, at this point in time, you don't have any steps, you haven't defined the flow, so naturally you're not seeing a whole lot going on. But what we're going to do to kick off this process is I have a picture that I took of an expenses form, a paper form, and I'm going to upload that picture into the environment. So this is my expenses sheet JPEG. Now, due to the restrictions within our webinar, I can't actually show you this sheet, but I might jump back to it as expenses form. And I'm going to ask it to create a process. So I've just given it a picture. I'm going to press OK, send that picture in, and see what comes up. Now, what it does is it sends that picture off to our AI backend, and it responds with an attempt at understanding what that picture is and producing a process based on that picture. So what it's done is it's identified the different fields that are on the paper form and generated a series of steps to capture different details. So we can see here it's identified question, starting date, ending date. It's automatically understood that they are date and time questions. It's added some questions for the name of the person, the title, the department, and so on, all as pieces of text. And it's then added in a step for capturing questions. Now, the system records a number of different types of questions. So obviously it can handle text questions, date questions, person or group questions, that kind of thing. And it'll recognize these automatically. But it also adds in repeating tables. So when you have tables on that piece of paper that you photographed, it will pick up those tables and automatically generate them as tables within the form. That's all very well, but I didn't want it actually to generate a workflow. I just wanted it to capture the details initially on a single step. That was what I had in mind. So what I'm going to do is ask it to combine the steps, combine the questions into one step. So it'll go away and interpret what I typed in and give me an answer. It does that pretty quickly. And as we can see, we now have one single step expense report form. It's capturing all the details on a single step. That's much better. I now want to add another step in for manager approval. So I want these questions to be submitted to a manager. Um, Now I'm adding in very simple instructions here. And what it's doing is the AI understands how FlowForma works. It understands the world of process, and it can automatically generate something that quite closely matches what it sorry that it guesses what you would need. So when I ask it to add a step for manager approval, it generates a simple step there, manager approval, where you can simply approve or reject the expense submission. Now that again, that's fine, but there is a further step in this process. Ultimately, those expenses have to be paid. So I'm going to add another step. So I want to add another step, which will be assigned to the finance department to actually issue out a payment to the employee or the person. And this is the step it created. So when I use keywords like payment and so on, it understands what a payment is. It understands the kind of information that needs to be captured to make a payment. So it's automatically put in a question payment confirmation, yes or no, and payment date, and also the payment method. Now it can understand, like I said, different types of questions, and one of those questions is choice. So it realizes that there are certain types of default payment methods, and it's just added in a choice question for those defaults. And that looks really good. But you know what? To pay a person, you really need to know their bank account details. So let me add in some bank account details. So it goes away, and like I said, it understands the world in general. So that when you say, "Can I add bank account details?" it should automatically understand the kind of details that a bank is going to require for processing a payment. So it's come up with bank account number and bank name. Now I can continue refining this, giving it more information to actually get details of, for example, um, IBAN codes, that kind of thing. You really get back from it as much as you're prepared to give. So the idea is that you're having a chat with this AI and you're constantly adding information, refining what the AI is responding back to you. So for example, if I look right back at the top, I'm capturing my expense details here. And you can see date expense, um, which is expense, which is like it looks like an expense type, maybe just a single line of text, a description and an amount. I want to capture more information. So add an expense, oops, excuse me. So I'm going to add an expense type for each expense item. Let's see what it does. So it's pretty good at figuring out context based on what you type in. Now, it won't always get it right. It's important to realize that. But it does in this case add an expense type into that table. It automatically creates a choice question with travel, meals, accommodation, supplies, and other. Now I could alter the choice values. In fact, when I'm typing in to add an expense type, I could specify I want to use food, travel, and other, and it will automatically handle that. It also handles things like file upload. So for example, so I've asked it to upload an image of a receipt for each expense item. Again, it understands what an image is, it understands what uploading is. So when we go back here, we see we now have a receipt image as a file upload question in the expenses table. So within a matter of, I think, less than 10 minutes, I've created a workflow with a lot of detail um, that is a fantastic starter for a production system. Essentially, I have something right now that I could show to a financial accountant and say, hey, you know what? What do you think of this? And then I can start making refinements. So at the moment, this is just a chat. I've been chatting to an AI, and yes, the output is looking good. But what I want to see now is what does it actually look like? So I can press on this build button here, and it automatically creates the process for me. So it's created the 3 steps, it's created all the fields. I'm going to save this flow, and then what we'll do is pop into the designer and let's have a look at it. So I'll click on the expense form and then create a test process. Sorry, create a test form, and here's what the actual process looks like. So within a matter of minutes, I've created a working process that allows me to do a great deal of work straight off the bat. It's a fantastic tool for getting something done really quickly, getting off the starting blocks and getting something done really quickly that you can actually build by just chatting to the chatbot, the copilot, or you can upload documentation. So you can upload images of existing forms. You can even upload multiple forms and have those different forms represented in different steps. And you can also upload diagrams. So, for example, you could draw out a image. You could draw out an image of your workflow on a whiteboard. Take a photograph of the whiteboard and upload the image, and it will automatically create the steps for those steps based on that workflow. In fact, it will automatically create data items within the steps based on the description of the steps. Imagine you actually handwrite the names of the different steps in boxes on a whiteboard. It will automatically give you some example data points to capture on each step. That's pretty impressive. We're constantly working on this and improving it so that we're adding in business rules, for example, into the process. We're also going to add in further abilities to generate communications, emails, and documents based on the data that's been created automatically by Copilot. So pretty impressive. And what we're finding is that the reaction that we're getting from our user base to this has been really positive, particularly the ability to upload forms, for example, because this is a way that you can quickly digitize existing paper processes in your organization. Now, I'd like to jump on, I'm just conscious of time here. I'd like to jump on to another area that we worked on. So what we talked about so far is our new flow designer. We've talked about Copilot, but we've also introduced AI business rules that assist people in completing their work. So imagine the Copilot is helping you build that flow to begin with, but business rules help the person who is actually carrying out the process. So let's have a look at one of those. And what I'm going to do is jump into an existing process that I've built to show you that. Okay, so this process here, I created actually using Copilot, and it's a software support service step. So the idea with this process is that one of our customers is going to fill this form in, and it's responding, if you like, on some service calls that they called in, and they're responding with how well the service was provided, right? So you can see here the questions: how would you rate and support the agents? How would you rate the support agents' knowledge and professionalism? Add any additional comments and suggestions. How likely are you to recommend a support service, and so on. These are a lot of data points that would end up going back to the marketing team, and the marketing team could provide some analysis on it. However, you can get AI to do that for you too. In this instance, what we've done is I'm going to pop over to our designer and look at some business rules. So in this case, I can see I have a business rule here on generate opinion and on opinion. Let's have a look at those business rules. On the generate opinion, the generate opinion is simply a question that says, do you want to generate or do you want to refresh the opinion? However, there's a business rule on here called AI agent. If I open up this business rule, it allows you to give the AI some instructions as to what to do with the data on the form and generate a response. It's very, very flexible. It can do a lot of different things, but I'm just going to explain what it's doing in the context of this particular form. So remember, the form has a lot of questions on it that are kind of text-based questions and so on that say, hey, how was the quality of service? Give me your opinion on this. Give me your opinion on that. So what I'm asking the AI to do is act as a customer service agent to review customer feedback and suggest actions to remedy customer queries or complaints. In a sense, this is the job spec of the AI. This is the role that they're playing. I want them to act as a customer service agent and carry out this particular type of task. I'm then going to feed it some inputs. I'm going to say, well, I want to provide some values from various questions on the form. And I've gone and picked all these various questions like, please describe your overall opinion, etc. So I provided it with just 5 questions, big text questions. And I've said, okay, well, from an output point of view, what do I want to get back out of you when I give you all this data? Well, I want you to give me a rating between 1 and 10 representing the level of customer satisfaction with the software service. The temperature gives me it's kind of like a verbosity level. So how detailed and so on do I want the response to be, right? Um, and then what question do I want to output to? So I have a text question I want to output. So to sum up, I've set this rule up to say, hey, you know what? Look at the data that the customer fed back to us and give me an opinion on what we should do about that. How good is the service that how good is the service, but also what do you think we should do about improving that service? And I'm going to close that and just run one of these just to show you how it works. But I'm just stuck a little bit for time. I'm just going to say one other thing, which is to say that there's one other business rule in here as well. So I want that AI to come back with that detailed response on what we should do next. But then I also want to generate a summary. So we have a summarization question that takes that AI output and then summarizes it further into a nice short sentence summarizing the customer feedback. So because we're stuck for time, I'm going to just go ahead and show you this. So let me do this test example here. This is our test form. And I'll go down a little bit to here. So please describe your overall experience. Good service, issue resolved, service was slow, poor response. So I'm just saying that, it wasn't all perfect. What did I like most about the service? Issue was resolved. How can we improve the service faster? Need to know that my message was received. And then do what I like 24/7? Yes, I would. And any other comments or suggestions? Regular contact points. So really, I was happy with what they did, but you know what? They need to talk to me. And I'm going to now generate AI analysis of that feedback. So what's happening here is it's sending all of this information captured in the form to the AI and getting a response. And remember what I asked for. I asked for actions. I asked for scores. So it's giving me some scores. It's telling me the satisfaction rating was 5 out of 10. Suggested actions, improved response time by implementing more efficient communication processes, and so on. So this is, if you like, a detailed plan of what I should do next based on the responses that were submitted by the customer. And then I get a summary of all that. So implementing suggested actions can improve response times for communication processes and overall customer satisfaction, addressing concerns from recent feedback. And there's a little note to say it was generated by AI. That little note's very important because when you're using AI within a system, there are some considerations that you have to make. You need to make people aware that AI is actually generating this information, generating these responses. So we include automatic messaging to handle that. But I hope you can see from this short demonstration that actually the power of this system, it's really very significant because you can see how quickly you can build a new process. Really, you can have something put together in minutes that is a fantastic starter, a fantastic draft for for you to then to further refine using the designer. And then in terms of the actions that you can carry out automatically, it's almost having an assistant that is helping you to complete your task and move through that process faster. The example here was just one example of many. So for another example, you can actually process up files that are uploaded into your form and generate and extract information from those files using AI. There's many, many more things that it can do. But hopefully this whetted your appetite to see a little bit more, and we can give you a more detailed demonstration on a one-to-one basis. Okay, at that point, I think I better pass back. I think I've overrun quite a bit.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, so as Paul mentioned, no, the actual advancements in with AI and Copilot within the product is massive, and we've had that firsthand through this customer testimonial. This is one of our large construction customers based out of the UK, and as you can see here from his testimonial, he uploaded a diagram of his temporary works inspection sheet into FlowForma's Copilot. It rapidly built out that process for him. He then streamlined it down from 10 steps to 3, rearranged some questions and set up the rules. And within 2.5 hours, he had the new process fully functional and live for the users. So he was really impressed kind of with that innovation. And again, we can't stress enough that the AI capabilities within the product is to enhance the existing process builders and really free up their time. It's not to take away their jobs, but certainly it's to free up their time and kind of get them focusing on other areas and getting processes live and built and live a lot quicker. On top of our product, also we have a great analytics tool called FlowForma Insights. This is built-in analytics, which again is plug and play. It does require some slight integration pieces, and it plugs into your SQL backend. However, from a user perspective, there's no Excel wizardry or BI skills required. So no kind of pushing out into Power BI and building out your own dashboards and coding or anything. It's all very much plug and play. You can create dashboards in minutes, and those dashboards range from what you see on screen right through to so many different other choices. And it will gain you greater insights into your processes, as well as then pushing that insights and pushing these diagrams out to other areas of the business so you can really see firsthand how your processes are performing, and it will kind of continuously optimize your process and see your digitization value. So in terms of that insights piece, it is a powerful tool that is a complement to the existing FlowForma platform.
Now I'm just going to jump back in as we have a quick poll, and I'll give you just a minute or so just so everyone can participate. Perfect, I can see people participating at the moment. I'll just give you another second there just to hit the button. Perfect.
Okay, and now I'd just like to talk to you briefly about what's coming next. So we've been working very hard on FlowForma AI and building out Copilot and our business rules over the past 18 months. Just so people know, we initially spent the first 6 months building proof of concepts to show that we could generate value within the product using AI, and then we enhanced those proof of concepts into fully fledged product features that you've seen today. However, we have not stopped. So we're still working on enhancing those AI features, and these are some of the areas that we're committed to delivering in 2025. So we're going to improve our help within the Flow Builder. Now, you may know already that we have extensive online help, but it's quite a bit of hassle to go into that online help and find the help that you need and to understand that help and find out how it's going to help you. Um, so we're building in a chat agent into the system that allows you to have that natural language conversation with the chat agent. So you describe your problem, your challenge, and it responds back in the context of Flowforma and says, hey, to solve this particular business process challenge, this is what you need to do. You need to look at this feature, you need to look at that feature, and this is how you activate the feature, etc. So all of that is going to be built into an AI chat agent that you ask a simple, straightforward question, it gives you the answer straight away. Saves you looking through all the extensive online help that we have. I'm really looking forward to that myself. It's going to be a really great feature. Um, there's also going to be a to-do list to guide you through flow configuration. Essentially, what that is an AI assistant helping you to build out a process. So it's looking at your process and it's suggesting ways of going in terms of what to do next. We find that this is sometimes a blocker for our clients because our clients, let's say, go on the training course and you're full of enthusiasm and you start out building your process, but you only get it so far in, and then you hit something that you're just not sure what to do next. You're blocked. You just need a little bit of help to get over a hump. And that's where this AI assistant is going to really help you. It's going to give you suggestions as to what to do next, which will help you get over that roadblock without having to call support, without having to check the help file. It's going to give you some ideas how you can make things better quickly. We're going to add support for PDF files. What does that mean? Well, at the moment, you saw me uploading an image of an expense sheet into Copilot. At the moment, we work with images. So if you take a photograph of a form or you take a photograph of a flowchart, you can just upload that photograph and away you go. A lot of people, however, are some way down the process design. They've already got a fully fledged policy in place or a process description in place that's in a PDF file that's maintained in a folder somewhere. And what we're doing is we're going to support the uploading of those policies and procedures. So if you have a policy document, let's say, that's in a PDF file, it contains text, it contains diagrams, it contains lots of information, and you'll be able to upload that document and generate a flow based on that document that you upload. So that's another step forward in terms of environments where you already have detailed complex procedures documented. You'll be able to upload those documents and process them through Copilot. Another thing we can do is do process discovery. So imagine, extend what I've just said, where you're uploading a document and it then interprets it. Imagine if you pointed FlowForma to a folder and it automatically ran through all of the documents in the folder and generated the flow for every single one of them. So that's what we're talking about here is process discovery based on the documentation that your existing company has. So if you have, for example, if you're an ISO 9000 compliant company, you will have lots and lots of documented procedures. They're all sitting in a folder somewhere, maybe in your SharePoint environment. You'll be able to point FlowForma to those folders, and actually it will churn through those and generate a process for every one of them. Wouldn't that be useful, right? So that's going to be something that I'm particularly excited about. The next thing is the agent rule that you saw. So the agent rule that we have at the moment is basically a rule where you're giving it an instruction, it goes away, carries out the instruction, and returns an output. Imagine if you had multiple agents working together. Each agent was a specialist in their own area. So you had an agent that is a specialist in processing payments and invoices, an agent that's a specialist in processing contracts, and you had these two agents talking to each other. Essentially, our workflow at the moment works with people, where each step is assigned to a person. Imagine you had a step that was assigned to an agent, and the agent had a particular role in the organization. And it would be a simple role, maybe to process an invoice and move it on to the next step for approval. You'll always have humans involved in that process, but you can have agents doing simple tasks and working with each other, passing information between each other to get the job done and get it done faster. And that's where we want to go. We're working on that at the moment. We actually have POC examples of it working. So hopefully on the next customer webinar, which will be in 3 to 6 months, we might have something to show you on that. And that's really our key roadmap items for 2025. It's not the only things on our roadmap, but it's important to understand that uh, making even better use of AI is very much one of our focus areas and one that we're going to follow through on in 2025. Okay.
Excellent. And just a reminder again of some of the processes that we're seeing time and time again come up for our customers. And these really do cover across all areas of a business. And it's just a good reminder of having a look at this and seeing what can be done with the FlowForma software. As you can see, it's quite far reaching and goes into every corner of the business. On the back of that, we have had, just to emphasize some of these process and one in particular, we did have a customer that did sit within the construction area again, and they worked predominantly across their health and safety, or they implemented the solution into their health and safety that division. And what they did was they were able to digitize a number of their health and safety areas using FlowForma. What that meant was that they were going on site, capturing information on a mobile device, electronically gathering that evidence, and then was able to do that incident reporting on that mobile device. So it really turned it around pretty quick. And again, it just goes to show what can be digitized, and how it can be digitized using the platform. And we also had another customer in the healthcare space who uses FlowForma for their fire safety, and that's across a number of their sites in Ireland.
And just to mention, there are so many examples, varied examples of people using our system for so many different things, and it's just worth mentioning maybe one or two more before we move on to migration. So we've had particular interest in inventory management. So inventory management is an area that um, for many companies they need it in a small scale. So if you have a large warehouse and you want an inventory management solution, you're going to go to something like SAP or something like that. But for many organizations, for example, in a couple of our hospital healthcare environments, they need simply a small inventory management solution that will help them manage the movement of stock between the different physical areas in their environment. Like a hospital situation, you might have 100 or 200 um, stock locations throughout that hospital where stock levels need to be maintained at a certain level to ensure vital medical supplies are always available. And so Forma fits in very well with this. Using a combination of our mobile app, you can use a barcoded stock and scan it on our mobile app and record the stock in and stock out um, actions as you're moving stock between the different stock locations. And so FlowForma fits in very well as a quick and easy inventory management solution. And also the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is one that a number of our clients use FlowForma for, but not everybody might realize this, is risk management. Risk management is becoming increasingly important, and uh, these days, companies face a very large, varied number of risks that all need to be managed in some way. In some cases, that management is actually regulatory, and you're required to record and manage those risks in the register. In some cases, it's simply good commercial sense to actually manage your risks. And Proforma is very good at this and is used in a number of different organizations, different sectors, for all things related to risk management, IT risk management, operational risk management, fire risk management, etc. So just a couple of examples there I wanted to throw in at the end. And now we can move on to our slide on migration. Thank you. So migrating to FlowForma 8. So during the demonstration there, I showed you what FlowForma 8 looked like. But it's important that you realize that FlowForma 8 is something that you're going to have to move to at some point before April 2026. And the reason is that Microsoft have made a change to SharePoint so that they're going to retire the infrastructure that FlowForma runs on in April 2026. At least that is FlowForma 7. So the version of FlowForma that everybody, sorry, not everybody, but many people are currently using, will um, stop working after April 2026. It's as simple as that. However, the good news is we put a lot of time and effort to make a version that runs on SharePoint using different infrastructure and also brings you several other improvements. And that's FlowForma 8. So you can move to FlowForma 8 at any time. And we have a migration program in place. Many of you have been contacted already, and many of you have already made that move. But this is just to let you know that this is something that we need to look at over the coming months. And the great news is that we have a migration tool that does it all for you automatically. So it automatically takes your Flowforma 7 environment and converts it into a Flowforma 8 environment. So it's a really easy process and something that we will be in contact with everyone over the coming months to move as fast as we can and get everybody moved over to Flowforma 8. Okay, so yeah, move on to Q&A.
Thanks so much for that, guys. We're just going to have a brief Q&A. So if you haven't got a chance already, this is your time to pop any questions you have for the guys into the chat box. Let's see what we have already. So we have Robbie here who is asking, can you use Copilot to create rules on those questions? For example, show and hide. Let's see, show and hide step if bank transfer is selected. Maybe Paul, how would that start?
Yeah, certainly, certainly. So, at the moment, a Copilot will create rudimentary rules like show and hide question and show and hide step. They are placeholder rules that you need to go in and edit and refine. And we are working on building out the different types of rules into Copilot. So at the moment, it handles about 6 different business rules, but we are working on expanding that out for it to handle more and more business rules over the coming months. Okay.
Perfect. And then we also have a couple of other questions. So we have Jack, they're asking, what does the onboarding of insights look like? Maybe it's best Charlie, if you could answer that one.
Yeah, no problem. So Insights is pretty easy in terms of the initial user setup. It will take a bit of a back end in terms of getting it integrated. However, that can be done pretty easily enough and does require low level permission. So it does easily plug into your SQL database. So from a setup and getting it up and running point of view, it is pretty straightforward as long as that administration access is there. But it will also, on the back end of that, it will do all your administration on your database. So that will handle things like updating tables, store procedures, everything like that. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
And then we also have Pat. They're asking, how accurate is the Copilot when interpreting natural language prompts? Maybe Paul, you could answer that.
Yeah, yeah, I can take that one.
Mhm.
It's pretty good. So it has a large general knowledge of the world. Is the best way I can describe it. And it also understands full forma and it ties the two together. And what I find as I'm using it is that it's actually uh, it's very good. It always surprises me at how well it understands my natural language prompts. You probably saw there that in the demo that I was only supplying it with very basic, simple prompts because we're so time constrained here on the show today. But even with that, it was able to interpret like I wanted to add an expense type into a repeating table, but it actually figured that out. So it's pretty good, I would say. You will occasionally get surprises. So, for example, a simple example of that is when I uploaded that expense sheet, it automatically broke it into steps. I didn't want that to happen, right? So, the way I work with Copilot and the way everybody should work with Copilot is think of it as a conversation. It's not as if you're typing in a prompt and boom, hey, you got the perfect response and it all suddenly works and that's job done. It's a case of having a conversation and refining it through simple commands. So just as I was doing there, where it, it created the expense sheet, but it created steps. Oh, it didn't want steps. Combine it into one step. Great, it's done. And then I added other steps to it, and I had a conversation to gradually add in the fields and make the changes that I wanted to make it just right. That's the way you work with it. So in terms of accuracy, it's actually pretty accurate. But think of it in terms of the way you work. You've got to build it up and work with it, have a conversation with it. We are going to, at some point, introduce verbal communication with it. I don't want to commit to 2025, but we are doing that. And actually, um, if you follow AI, you'll probably find articles that tell you that actually verbal communication is the most efficient way to work with AI because you don't tend to speak in long paragraphs, you speak in short sentences and you gradually refine things. And that's the way to do. Have a conversation with it.
It's really interesting. And then we also have Kelly. She says she has a backlog of processes to automate. Thinking Copilot might be useful for this. Is there any tips that you could give her? Maybe Charlie? Yeah?
Yeah, I could take that one. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
getting to it. It's probably the first and foremost now is spending that time, and you don't really have to have the process completely thought out in your head. Have the bones of it, and have a bit of an idea, and let Copilot build that out for you. So it really is a matter of kind of interacting and having that chat with Copilot as you would with another colleague in the office, and kind of saying, this is what I want to see. No, I don't want to see a bit of that or more of this. And you will start to see that process build out pretty quick. And the refinement then on the back of that is pretty straightforward. So again, it all comes down to kind of adoption and finding the time to kind of build out the processes with Copilot.
Perfect. And then we also have another question here from Jenny. They're asking what types of process diagrams or forms can I upload, and is there some specific formats supported?
Yeah, in terms of uploading information into Copilot, you basically do it at the moment you have to use images. Okay, so if you want to upload a table, for example, you can take a photograph of your spreadsheet and upload it, and it will interpret that table based on the names of the columns, etc. Okay, that's the way you need to think of it today. But in the future, we are going to support more and more um, types of files. So already, for example, if you look at the AI assistant business rule that I showed you earlier on, that AI assistant rule can accept more file types. You can actually upload a spreadsheet to the AI assistant, give it a spreadsheet as the data, and you might be giving it a role as act as a financial analyst to analyze the information in the spreadsheet, and then the instruction is pull out the grand total of expenses from the spreadsheet. It will actually work. It will basically look through that spreadsheet, analyze the cells, look for that grand total, and return it as a value. Um, so already within the AI assistant, we do support a variety of file types. For Copilot, at the moment, it works with images, but we are hoping to, are planning to have it working with PDF files, like I said earlier, and other file types as input into Copilot in terms of process design. Hope that was not too detailed there, Hannah.
No, it's perfect, Paul. We are going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, so if anyone else has any questions as well, I can see a couple more coming through, but we might not have enough time for them, but we will get back to you, of course, with them. And speaking of next steps, you can book a one-to-one session to explore the AI features more. Um, or you're more than welcome to register for our AI Masterclass on April 23rd, or you're more than welcome to do both either. And you can do so by registering post survey. So you just have to tick a box. That's it. And then we'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you all coming here as well. And thank you so much, Charlie, and Paul as well for speaking today. But it was really interesting and really exciting for the 2025 roadmap and lots of AI stuff as well. But yeah, we hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. See you.